My name is Dr. Gerald Higginbotham. I'm the Vice President of the American Slave Nation. I also serve as the spokesperson for the descendants of American slaves. I'm here to talk to you today about a subject that is so vitally important. Our communities are hurting because we've been off course. We have been given the wrong information. And 1 degree off course, being a pilot, you won't arrive at your destination. And so what we have to do today, we got to get the right information. So I need to say this part. I'm not a Black American. I'm not an African American. I am an American. I'm a descendant of American slaves. This is so vital because we have been called slaves, colored, Negro, Black, now African American. Which one is it? You see, this nation here breeded slaves. Slavery is the foundation of this nation. It will always be tied to America. Also, slavery was the economic bedrock to the American economy. Slavery was not personal, it was business. And so as we begin to look at it for really what it is, we can see that the American slave culture has been misidentified. We have been called other things that we're not. I'm not Black. I'm not an African American. Black is a color. It is an adjective. It's not a noun. It's not a person, place, or thing. It's not a nationality. An African American is an immigration term that was issued in the early 50s for those blacks and whites that wanted to come to America for the American dream, or they wanted to get a better way of living. And after they went through the immigration process, they were awarded the term African American. The American slaves never did immigrate from Africa. They were born on American soil. That seed was planted in the ground in the plantation, and the results 9 months later was slaves. And so they're two different cultures. The African American and the American slave culture, they're two different. And so you can't help a group of people until you identify the group it is that you're trying to help. And so ever since the Civil War, the American slave culture has been hurting. That war was about freeing the slaves. And after the war was over, the Declaration of Peace, the slaves, the American slave cultures was not included. So she was not given any type of economic emancipation, no type of leadership training, and no plan to enter into mainstream America. So the American slave culture has been suffering. I said that to say this is my 4th riot. I live close by the Ferguson area, and my first riot was August 11th, 1965. I was 7 years old. I was part of the South Los Angeles riot, better known as Watts. I saw the burning and the deprivation of the community. The next riot was the night Dr. King was assassinated. It was my 10-year-old birthday present. And I made a decision that night that we're going to find out why he was murdered, and also to how do we create better communities. So it's been a lifelong journey of about 46 years. Then there was a riot in 1992, Los Angeles again with Rodney King, and then now the Ferguson riot. I say this to say that every time you have a riot, it's telling you that you have not addressed slavery. So we're dealing with the after effect of slavery, and we got to address it now. Here's this book here called America's Little Black Book. I'm encouraging everyone to get this book. We want to make this book the talk of the town. Both whites and blacks in this area need to get this book, because then we can be able to understand what happened. Our school systems don't teach American slave history. And failure to have the right information, we'll keep struggling and we'll miss the mark every time. But as we come together and get the information, then we can have compassion for each other, our fellow Americans, because we're all Americans. Just so happens we are descendants of American slaves. We are America's firstborn descendant. America has not created no other slaves. She has breeded no other people except dark-skinned people, and she breeded them for 2 purposes. Number 1, to be perpetual servants to white people forever, and number 2, to be able to build this nation, labor. 247 years America got paid, my ancestors got played. So therefore it has been an economic issue, but it stems from an identity issue. And therefore we have to address this piece first, that we all are Americans, except we are descendants of American slaves, and we do have firstborn rights. We need to understand that because America is a corporation. It operates off of laws, codes, proper legal documentation. The slave culture has not been established properly. Technically, the slaves have really not been released mentally, emotionally, as well as financially. And so we have to address this issue. But if you begin to read this book, America Little Black Book, it'll begin to add value to your life, and you can see it from a different paradigm, and you'll have information that'll take you to another level. You can get the book at www.descendantsofamericanslaves.com. That's www.descendantsofamericanslaves.com. Get the book. Let us all begin to work to heal our nation. We are all Americans.